So yesterday, after I did the weekly reset and showed you guys what was going on and what we had, a viewer by the name of Kojak187 actually asked if I could also take a look at the epic gear that comes in the weekly reset in the weekly selection and kind of give my thoughts on this as well. I'm actually really happy, Kojak, that you wanted me to look into this because Epic Gear really is not looked at by people when they're starting out, and it really should be, especially if you're going to do certain builds. I'm Darkstrider, the YouTube Assassin, and we're going to look into Epic Gear and why, in some cases, it's actually better than Legendary Gear. Now, when it comes to builds, I usually always show you guys legendary items that I put together in order to make a build. Now, in almost every single one of my videos, I often tell you guys that legendary is good, but it's just a blueprint. I just use these as blueprints. Okay? What I really want you to do is look into these things after you're comfortable with them and be able to make your own builds. And believe it or not, Epic Gear is where that's at. All right? So now, as you can see with the legendary gear, you'll see, like, for instance, on this Lawmaker, I have 25% warrior damage, 50% crit damage, 100% elemental buildup with charged attack ability, and I have an extra slot, so I put weapon damage becomes fire damage. Okay? That's all well and good. That's standard with weapons. When you go to gear, you'll see that it has things like this, like the Radiant Leaves Crown has 25% warrior damage, 20% crit chance while low health, and then I added 99% sunburn resistance, and if you have the entire set, you have plus 200 damage while on fire. Now, the reason that Epic Gear would most likely be better in this scenario is that, as you can see, in order to get the 200% damage while on fire, you really need to have all 5 pieces. That is a lot of wasted space. Epic Gear will have a bunch of things on it, and then it'll give you extra slots. So here, you'll see this Hunter's Hood, 24% hunter damage, 30% range resistance, 20% crit chance while full health. Let's say right here, I wanted to put the 99% sunburn resistance. Let's say I was trying to mimic this, the Helios set. I put that on this, and then you're like, but wait a minute, what about the other thing? What about this over here? The whole effect where I get plus 200% damage while on fire. Well, if you go to another piece of gear, and let's say this was going to be the next part of what I was going to do, obviously it's not, but let's say 24% assassin damage, 50% crit damage, 10% all damage, I could add that engraving to this. And then I would still have at least 3 more pieces where I could add other more useful things to it. Okay? That was the whole point of actually having the Epic Gear. When you work with Epic Gear, you could put so many other things on it. Like here, I have Ocalia's Lotus Daggers. Okay? 24% assassin damage, 30% damage with daggers, 40% poison damage. On this one, I added weapon damage becomes poison. Now, I had 2 of them because I fought this mercenary twice, and on this one, I add rush assassinate ability chains to 1 more enemy. Okay? I did that. If I actually got the weapon, the legendary weapon that has the rush assassinate ability chains to 1 more enemy, it wouldn't have all of this stuff. So we get an extra slot with the Epic Gear. Then over here, I added 50% damage with assassin abilities, 10% crit chance, but as you can see, I have 3 slots, and I'm adding all this other stuff, which is great. Okay? That's what you want to do. You want to get the epic gear. You want to add all this kind of stuff. You'll find a lot of great stuff that has, crit chance, crit damage, things like that. And they have great rolls on them that will add to what you're trying to accomplish. All right. So now, that being said, do not just give up on, like collecting the legendary gear, because obviously these legendary sets have the legendary engravings, and you're not going to be able to do that unless you get those legendary items. So this week, Sargon had, let's see, the Tracker's Hood for 40 ore. And as you can see, this one has 24% assassin damage, 10 seconds intoxicated duration, 40% movement speed while crouching. And the curved sword, 24% assassin damage, 40% poison damage, 40% adrenaline per crit. And that's for 50. Now, normally I do not buy these from here just because I don't want to spend the ore on those items. If I'm going to spend the ore like that, I'll actually just come and do the Olympic gifts. And when I do the Olympian gifts, as I'm trying to track down legendary items, I'll get a bunch of like really great epic gear. And that's how I do it. The other thing that you can do that's really simple, and this is probably the easiest thing to do if you're really hunting down certain pieces of armor and epic gear and whatnot. You come to the blacksmiths, you go to buy, and you find what they have here. Sometimes they have some like really outlandish things, some like incredible items that you're going to want. All right. Sometimes you'll see the same thing and it'll have like a different role. Like this one, the combat blade, you'll see that this one has 24% warrior damage, 40% damage on Athenian soldiers, 40% adrenaline per crit. You might leave, come back, and there'll be a different combat blade with different rolls. Or you might go to a different blacksmith in a different town, and you'll see the same thing. You'll see a combat blade, but it's going to have different rolls on it. All right? That's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to track those things down. And then you're going to want to find basically what suits your needs. If you're doing a hunter build, this right here would be okay if you're doing like a dual build, a warrior hunter build. Things like that. You want to like look that up. You want to really do your research on what you're trying to build and how you're trying to build it and put it all together like that. Then you also want to come and engrave the items. You want to make sure that whatever you purchase, you really get like the engravings that you want. And the way to get those engravings, if it's an armor set like this one, 70% all resistance after perfect dodge, you need all 5 pieces in order to accomplish that. All right, tough goal, but it can be done. So now let's take a look. 200% damage while on fire. Let's just pick something here and let's see if I could add that to my thing. Now, different pieces of armor you'll be allowed to add different things to. So let's take a look. Damage with torches, 500% damage while covered in black oil. So that's actually a pretty normal thing. Let's see. So no, this one, it will not allow that. Let's see if another piece of armor will allow that. It's probably not. It's probably doing the whole same thing. Okay, so if that's the case, then what we're going to have to do is go to a different piece of armor and see if it'll allow us to put it on that. All right? Different pieces of armor will allow for different things. And as you can see here, this 10% crit damage while full health, I have to do the Ostrakas in order to raise this. I've been kind of lazy at the end game where I haven't been doing all the Ostrakas. I did them on an alternate file. I did not do them on this file, and that's really important. I really should be doing that in order to be even more effective. So let's see. Yep, you see how like I've got like a lot of great things on this, but I can't really add that, it looks like. Let's see. There has to be a piece of armor that I could add it to. 100% damage with torches. Become Isu enhanced. Here's sunburn resistance. I could add that. It's kind of interesting that so far I haven't ran into a piece that I could add that to. And I'm just doing this randomly. I'm not really like, like searching and stuff, but as you can see, there's so many different things that like we could add to these things to become even more effective, to become better warriors, assassins, and hunters. Another thing I want to tell you, oh, see, this will only give me 75% damage while on fire, not 200%, but still, that's a lot of damage, depending on if I have something with a lot of critical hits, critical chance, things like that. All right. So there is an opportunity to really clean up there, to really get a lot of stuff going there. So, I mean, that's something to look into. Let me see if the footwear will do it. No, no. Okay. Well, that's what we're going to have to do. Now, another thing that I want to point out to you guys is that when you're putting engravings onto any of your epic gear or even your legendary gear, okay? All these in white, these common ones, you can stack these. You could put, let's say I'm able to put this plus 20% warrior damage on all 5 pieces of armor. It stacks. So it'll be a plus 100% warrior damage on all 5 pieces of armor. Okay? That's how that works. But the legendary things, these do not stack unless it's like completely different. Okay? So in the case of this gear over here, in fact, let's take a look at my Radiant set. So as you can see, my legendary Radiant belt has plus 200% damage while on fire. Okay? Let's see if I could find... No, it doesn't show it. If it was possible, when I went to this thing and you saw that it has 75% damage while on fire, that would stack. So if I was able to put this on the Radiant belt, I would have 275% damage while on fire. Because this is a different number than the other one, so it's not exact. Okay? But I can't put this on the belt, and then let's say I was able to put it on the bracers. They're both 75% damage while on fire. That's not going to give us 150% damage while on fire. You know, it's only going to give you one, and one becomes useless. These do not stack unless it's completely different. Unless it's like something that, you know, let's say this is plus 5% crit chance and 25% crit damage while full health. And then there was another legendary one that said plus 10% crit damage and 35% crit damage while full health. That would be completely different. So that would stack. All right. Now stacking, like I said, would be this right here, 10% all damage. If I added this plus 10% all damage to all 5 pieces of my gear, I would have plus 50% all damage. And that's also including any gear that already has that. So like, for instance, this item right here, this Athenian waistband, has plus 40% poison damage. If I had the ability to add another 40% poison damage or hunter damage or anything there, it would stack on this piece as well. But usually you can't do that. But if I added it to other pieces, it would stack. So remember, the common things here will stack. Legendary will not stack. You could only use one unless it says something completely different, even though it's a similar item, but that's very rare. Okay? The only way you get the legendary engravings is by finding the legendary gear, legendary weapons, things like that. And the rest of the stuff you would get just by doing certain things. You'll see as you're playing, as you're like going about, it'll say something like, you know, kill X amount of, you know, like whoever. Kill X amount of Athenians, and it gives you whatever, and then it keeps increasing. So I've unlocked, I think, pretty much all the engravings. I don't have any unlocked or any locked engravings. Yeah, that's everything. So now, the way to unlock engravings is by doing things, like I said. You're going to have to, like, run around, you know, use all your weapons. Use, you know, like, heavy weapons, blunt weapons, spears, axes, things like that. The more you use that stuff, the higher and better chances you get these damage with staves, damage with spears, things like that. So you definitely want to do that. The other thing that you want to do is go and look up all the Ostrakas. Okay, that's going to be big. You definitely want to go and do these all. See, I haven't done them all. As you find these Ostrakas and you do them, it does increase those little white dots that you see on the sides to make your thing stronger. Okay, so let's take a look here. You see like how I've got all these are all white on both sides? That means that I did all the Ostrakas or whatever that was involved in that. All right, this one, 9% adrenaline per hit, I didn't do it. See, complete Enigmata Ostrakas all around Greece. That's how I unlock it to the next tier. Okay, so you're definitely going to want to do that. I actually have a couple of videos that are listed in my playlist that show the locations and the solutions to all the Ostrakas. So definitely look that up so that way you can unlock all those things. All right. Another thing that I'm going to show you, if you'll hold on and bear with me, I'm going to warp over and I'm going to show you the exact location of somebody else that can help you gain those little white dots and whatnot. So this area that I'm standing in front of is called the Mycen Cave. Now, this cave has been here, but they added this thing in it way later on in the game. So, as you can see, here's Focus where I usually hang out. You go north to Malice, and you'll see over here by the ruins of Artemis, you've got the temple over here, you got the Trachis Fort, which I usually attack, you know, and that's where I do a lot of my videos when I'm showing off builds. You'll see Mycen Cave over here in this little corner there, okay? So here we are, Pandora's Cove. You're there. That's the right spot. As you can see, it's in Malice, which is north of Focus. And you're going to basically like follow this wall here. You can't really climb it. And you just stay on ground level. It's kind of hard to find. But you'll see this little crack here. And this is where we're going to slip in through. All right. Now, it's got, you know, like things inside of it. You know, there's ore and whatnot that you could like grab and whatnot. So we're going to go this way. If you go right, I believe that there is a treasure box here. Looks like it was left over kind of by the Isu. Yeah, so I already opened this. I forget what was in it. But, you know, this is this slot over here. So now, instead of out over here, instead of going towards the right, what you would do is when you get to the back of the cave, you would go towards the left. Instead of like going under this little thing here, you would just come this way and you're going to find a blacksmith over here. You're going to find Hephaestus. And here he is. So we're going to come over to this guy, and when you talk to him, he actually has a spot that you could learn. Now, in learning, he'll teach you a couple of like Ostrakas himself. So he'll increase certain things that you can actually get. And as you can see on the lower right-hand side, the mercenary discounts are where you really are able to get this stuff. So if you're tier 3, it's a 50% discount on upgrading. If you're tier 6, a 50% discount on engraving. And if you're tier S2, he reduces the price of his teaching by 20%. And if you're tier S2, you basically get all 3 of those tiers at the same time. So you're able to actually benefit from all that. Now, he'll teach you stuff. It'll be an ungodly amount of drachmae for you to actually learn, and he'll increase certain things. So definitely you want to go to this guy. You want to try him out. You want him on your side. You want him helping you. All right? That's going to be like some absolutely amazing stuff. Now, again, past the Ostrakas, this is another way to learn. And then he'll also upgrade and engrave like normal. All right? But I don't have the list of what he's actually going to teach you. But like I said, it's well worth it, especially like by this point in the game where you can make it to this area, you'll actually have a bunch of those ostrakas for you to learn and whatnot. And you definitely want to have that so that you can put a lot of that stuff on your epic gear. Okay? If you really want your character to look like the way I've got my character looking, you could always go directly to like the gear that you have and you could change it so that it looks cosmetic. So right now I'm playing on the PS4. All right, as you can see, as I'm looking at the Radiant breastplate, it says X to change. So on the Xbox controller, it would be A to change. And the square is so that we could change the cosmetic look of it, which would be the X button on the Xbox. So we'll hit that, and basically you can make it look like any gear that you have already come across. All right. You'll see things like this. That's something that I did not find yet, so I cannot get that. I cannot add it. But anything else that you see here that's pretty much highlighted, you could add to it. You can make it look like that. See, here's 3 pieces of gear that I have not found, and you must loot that item to apply its visual, which means that you got to loot the item, even the legendary item, if you want to apply the visual of it. All right? So that's what you could do to make it look like that. You know, it all depends. It's all up to you. It's on how you do it. All right? That's how that goes, though. But again, if you want epic gear and you want certain roles, what I would do is I would just go around and hit every blacksmith that I could find until I found certain gear that really worked out for me. All right, so I mean, there's obviously plenty of blacksmiths around Greece. You could find that all, and you could get what you want in order to make it work for you. Now, one final thing that I want to point out is that you may notice that when it comes to certain gear, you'll see a decrease in like strength or attack power or defensive power, depending on what you have. Now, you'll see that, like, my Radiant Leaves crown has 2797 armor, but even some of my other legendary gear, even though it's all level 99, does not have the same protective power. And a lot of the actual epic gear will really not have as much power or protective power as, like I had with like the legendary gear and whatnot. You'll also notice the same thing with like weapons. You'll see that certain weapons, 82, 57 DPS, damage per second. And when you look, I mean, these may be significant drops to you, but the thing is that if you have the right rolls, if you have the right items there, this will not matter as much. Okay? If you have an incredible build where it's all crit damage and crit chance and whatnot, you're a powerhouse. It does not matter if you do not have the 8257 damage per second and this is 7829 damage per second. It's, a drop of 428, as you can see here. If you have just the right rolls and you have the right crit damage output, you can be a beast. You can do damage in the upper millions depending on your rolls, depending on how you do it. Now, maybe I should try to go and do a lot more epic builds. That way you guys could see, like more epic builds. You may be able to go out there and find the right rolls. You may be able to go out there and find the exact same gear, in fact. That's entirely possible. So maybe that's a project I should try. Maybe I should be doing that a little more. That would, like basically help you guys out. And that's what this channel is all about. It's all about helping you guys out. If that's something you would like to see, if you would like to see more epic builds, then let me know in the comments below. And I'll see what I could do to make that happen. All right? Other than that, Let me know in the comments below, like, what do you think? I know a lot of our veterans who play Assassin's Creed Odyssey, who have been here since day one. I know a lot of you guys definitely use epic gear as opposed to the legendary gear. What kind of gear outputs do you look for? And, you know, like, what is your go-to thing? So that way we could help out, like, some of the people who are newer. What is it that you look for in epic gear when you're searching for epic gear? And what is your strategy to find that epic gear? Do you just wander aimlessly and you just find a piece and say, hey, I like this piece, let me see if I could build around this? Or do you like really go in and you know what you want, you've seen videos on what is out there, and you already have a checklist? Let me know that in the comments below. Everyone else, you know, anybody who's new to this game, like I said, this game's been out over a year. There's a lot of people in the community who want to help, who are helping, who are answering your questions. If I don't get to them, let me know what questions you have in regards to legendary and epic gear. Is there anything you're looking for specifically? Is there anything that you want? Is there any sort of build that you really want to get into and you're hoping to find? Let me know that in the comments below. Other than that, I really do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. It helps the channel out an awful lot. As always, I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. And until the next time, be good. I'll see you then.